Hello artists, today is the first class of our Still Life unit. We will learn about form and value. A still life is a picture of inanimate objects or non-living objects. Artists practice drawing form and value to understand how to create still life art. What is form? Form is the three-dimensional version of shape. So forms are rectangular prism, pyramid, cube, cylinder, sphere, and cone. Artists often use value to make these forms appear more three-dimensional. What is value? Value is how light or dark something is on the scale of white to black. When we use pencil to create value, we press very hard to make a dark value and very light to make a light value. Many times, artists use the white of their paper as the lightest value. Japanese artist Yoko Honda uses form to create the illusion of depth in her artwork. She also uses value to reinforce the illusion of depth in her artwork as well. Can you see her use of form and value in her picture here? Drawing forms. We will use value and form to create artwork that appears three-dimensional, or 3D. Here are the directions. First, we're going to draw a cylinder, cone, sphere, and cube on the paper. Draw lightly. Step 2, use value with a pencil to show where the light is coming from. Press softly for light areas and press hard for dark areas. Step 3, draw a shadow from each form. What objects can you think of that are made out of simple forms? On the other side of your paper, you can practice turning forms into objects. Remember to add value to make them look 3D. Follow the video in order to create your own forms using shapes and values. When you are completed with your artwork, take a photo and post it on Google Classroom for me to see. If you do finish early, you can take simple shapes and create your own still life on the back of the first page. I can't wait to see what you're going to create. Hello artists, we are going to create form using a value scale and shapes. So today we need a pencil, an eraser, and paper. It could even be the eraser on your pencil. And we are going to draw shapes. So the first thing we're going to do is make sure we remember our value scale. A value scale is the color of a pencil gray that goes from 0, where you're not touching the paper at all, to 1 being a light gray, all the way to 5 being a dark gray. We are going to start with our paper, and we're going to draw whatever you can do to make our shapes. We're going to start with a cylinder, and I'm going to make an oval and another oval. And you're supposed to draw light till you get it right, because parts we're going to erase as well. So I'm going to make sure I make the top of the side of the oval to the other side turn into the sides of our cylinder. And I'm just going to erase the top part of this oval. And now I have a cylinder on my page. The next one I'm going to make will be a cone. So this one I'm going to make a triangle, but at the bottom I make a smiley face. A very simple, easygoing smiley face. And there's my cone. The next shape is a circle. So we're going to draw a circle, and you can make them further apart. I'm making mine pretty close together for the video, but anywhere on your paper will be great. And then the next shape will be a cube. Now this one's a little tricky for some people. I get confused sometimes, so I'm going to move in closer. And for a cube, I'm going to make one square on the page, and then another square overlapping it. And this is going to turn into a cube by connecting the sides. So if this is the front, I usually erase this first so I know that the first square was in front and that it's overlapping the second, and then I can connect the sides really easy. That way I don't get too confused. And then I can erase the other two. And there you have it, a cube should form. So if that is something that's tough, I'm going to try it one more time so you can see. For a cube, I make one square and another square behind it, or overlapping. The front one won't overlap, so I don't always even have to draw that. I just have to have a square in there. So square in front of another one. And then I connect those corners and erase those. Okay, now to the value. And so we're going to take the idea of shading the sides. And I'm going to pretend the sunshine's coming from right over here on my value scale and in my picture. So the sunshine's here. That means it's the darkest on the other side. The moon could be here. And so I'm going to try and make the darkest part of the cylinder at the side of my pencil, just a really dark layer of pencil. And I'm going to make it go a little bit lighter and a little bit lighter and a little lighter. Now I'm at number 2, so I'm going to just kind of blend these together and see what happens first. And when I blend it, I know we're going with the up and down motion of this cylinder side, but I'm going to also round it a little so it's on the edges. So I'm going to add a little color on the side, a little color on the bottom, and then blend it together. And there is a nice number 2 shade. So now I want a number 3 shade. I'm going to add a little bit more pencil. And I want 4, so I add a little more. And I'm pressing really lightly till I get to 4, and then 5. I'm really pressing the pencil down pretty hard. And at the bottom, pretty hard. And at the top. And then I can just kind of smush it all together a little bit. Not all the way, because we want it to stay 0 and 1 over here. So like the dirt from my fingers and the absence of the pencil line make it brighter on the other side. And the other thing I can do at the top, it's not facing the sunlight right here. So we always add a little bit of like a crescent moon or a C-shaped shadow inside the top. It's kind of cool. And then it looks like a cylinder. The next part, we're going to make a cone. So I start and I add the darkest shade right onto the side, and it kind of goes to a lighter shade and an even lighter shade. Ooh, that one worked out very nice for me. I can even add that little shade at the bottom and blend it a little. And there, I could have the shade up to 2 and 3, give it a little more 4, and then of course I add the dark side, just a little bit more black. And now my cone could look more like a 3-dimensional form. With a circle, it turns into a sphere when we add a nice C-shaped shadow. So if I add, it's like a crescent moon again, like we did up here, but the opposite direction. So if I make it like a moon or a C, and I just keep remembering there will be no shading within this part of the circle right here. So I can make it really dark and lighter. I'm hardly touching this with my pencil. I'm just making little scribbles. And then even lighter here. Hardly any. I'm whispering. That's how light it is. I can blend it a little or just leave it with these cool scribbles. And I can just press really dark near the line. I'm not trying to make it look like it's an actual line. I'm trying to make it look like it goes from one color to the next very slowly, or a gradation of color, an ombre effect. And after I get enough of a difference in shadows or shades, I think you'll start to see it looks more like a rounded shape instead of just a flat circle drawn on this page. And of course, if I get too much pencil in the circle in the center, I can always go back in and erase a little. If it gets too dark too soon, I can add a little eraser and we can have a sphere show up. Hello, sphere. I like to add a lot of dark on the shadowy part. I love that part of it. I like contrast, I guess. The hardest one is going to be the cube. So when I have the sunshine coming down at this cube, sunshine is right about here. And on this cube, the brightest spot would be right about here. And it's just like on the circle, it's just like the sun's hitting this here. So right in this corner, it won't be any color. But on these corners here, there's going to be a shadow, and even a shadow down here, and even a shadow on the side of this. Just this one's ever slightly. It's very light. You might only get up to shade 2 for that corner, and just say, oh yeah, that was the cube side is just a 2 to a 1 to a 0. And at the top, it could be following that pattern, just like a 2 to a 1 to a 0. Right at this part of the cube, and at this part it could go all the way to a 5 to a 4. And when it gets to this corner, it turns into, like, if you think of a corner of a doorway, it's like a cobweb. It kind of goes in a rounded way. Cobweb it just a little bit, blend it together. It might be too dark, too many cobwebs. Erase them a little. And then on the bottom, this is the darkest one, so the sun is not hitting this side at all. So I might even take the back of my pencil and just make it really gray, really nice, like a 4 on the whole cube side. And of course, if the sun was hitting this at a different place, this might be the brightest side. But for now, I think we see the sunshine's here. And I won't confuse you more than that. So this one, shadow, is the darkest on the front of the cube. The side has a little gray, and the top has a little gray. And then the darkest would be here, the number 5. Voila. Now we have 4 objects, and they're casting a shadow as well from the sunlight. So if I go back to the cylinder, I can add a gray blob that's just like the shape of the cylinder, that blobs out a little bit taller. Our shadows are a little taller than it was, and it could even be the shape of the cylinder. The cone, it could blob out and point at the end, just like it does on this cone. And I'm using the side of my pencil, not pushing too hard on it, just a little bit. The next one, for the circle, it'll blob out kind of like the cylinder, but rounded a little bit more rounded as we go. And the cube, if you can guess, it's going to be more square on the end. So it's going to be maybe even more like a triangle. Get narrower, shadows get taller and skinnier. But at the end, instead of being pointy, it's going to go into a square shape. And there you have it. We have our practice of our value scale. I could do this all day, going back and forth, making it gray, making it lighter. And everyone has their own unique style. Some people press really hard, some people press lighter than me, and that's great. Keep your own artistic uniqueness and creativity while you're making your wonderful forms. Have a great time.